me when.
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, hold on.
Recording in progress.
Go ahead.
Okay, good evening, everybody. It's 5:30. We're going to open a special part of our meeting this evening. We're not going to start official business until 6 o'clock, at which time I will legally open the meeting like I usually do. Right now, we are going to do our graduation ceremony for the first ever Citizens Academy for the town of Hadley. That part of the meeting was scheduled for 5:30, and the whole meeting was supposed to be scheduled for 5:30, but it didn't get posted in town hall for 5:30. It got posted for 6 o'clock. So we can do this at 5:30 because we're not making any decisions. We're just going through the process of this graduation ceremony. And again, at 6 o'clock, we'll officially open the meeting as usual. So, Jennifer.
Hi.
Our Citizens Academy fearless leader.
I like it. Put it on my business card. We just wanted to have this ceremony tonight to recognize the participants of the Citizens Academy. There were 16 participants in our inaugural class. I can't say enough about them. And our departments heads who shared the information, the thoughtful questions, the good tours. I think the insight that was gained through this was invaluable to people, and I hope more and more people take it, especially if you're considering running for office or volunteering on a board or any of those things. I think that this is a really great way to see what's going on behind the scenes. Or like you, where you come and you're already on the board and you took it, and I think you learned things as well. So, if not to put words in your mouth.
This was, I thought you were going to lead this, so I'm lost. I'm not going to be at loss for words, but I will say that I agree with you 100% as to what you said about all the people that were in the class and all the town employees who donated their time for the various classes that we had. Everybody learned a lot, had an opportunity to ask questions. And as you said, I was part of the class, and I certainly took away good things from it. So I would highly recommend that everybody that's interested in not only town politics, but just the general running of the town, please sign up for the next class. And I don't know, have any idea when it's going to be.
I'm going to start it for August next year, get going earlier so we can do more outside stuff. As you'll see, our night at DPW, it's quite special in the dark. So we'll do it a little earlier next year. Yes, my intention is that we have 5 people have already signed up, and I'm going to start a big push at annual town meeting for sign up, unless people go ahead and get on the list now.
How many class members will you allow?
So certain places are tight. The sewer plant, I think we were pretty cozy in there at 16. But I think that we should maybe look at doing 20 people. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to do it more than that because I think you lose sort of the intimate feel of the classroom, of being able to participate, and I think that it becomes harder to get your questions answered. So 20 would be my absolute most, but I think 16 was pretty darn perfect. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do you want to do your slideshow before or after?
I would love to do a slideshow, and then we have a certificate for everybody.
Okay, and I'll be happy to hand them out.
Okay.
Call people up.
Autoplay.
Embarrassing.
Oh. Alex, can you let whoever who's coming in?
I'll handle that.
So it's just a quick slideshow. And it's just taking us through the nights that we did and all of the group photos that I made them take. There were a lot.
That's not even close to all that you made.
I'm not going to give you a certificate. This was at the sewer plant, and there you go. Our sewer plant by moonlight.
Did not sign up for that. did sign up for that.
Maybe we should have added music. It's our last night. Thank you, and then a call out for next year. Maybe Nolan wants you to join. So I will add music next time, I promise. All right. Thank you. So we have a certificate for everybody. And it just says the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Town of Hadley, by the Select Board, a certificate of completion, and this certificate is presented by the Select Board to, in this case, Randy Iser, in recognition of a successful completion of the Citizens Academy, demonstrating a commitment to civic engagement and public service. Congratulations, and it was given on the 21st day of 2026. So I'll give Randy his, and then if everybody would like to come up and get their certificate, let the Select Board say
call them
what.
up.
You got it.
Okay. Then they can come down the table.
This pictures.
Yeah, so when I call your name, please come to this end of the table, shake our hands, and as you get to me, I will give you your certificate. How's that sound? First up, Mary Fair.
Congratulations.
Well done.
Oh, well, we had a fearless leader here. She did everything. Thank you, Jennifer.
Well, thanks so much.
Courtney Meyer.
Congratulations.
Well done.
Thank you, Carly.
Linda Klemick.
Randy? Y'all learned them now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lynn Latham. Well done.
I would just say that anyone who pays taxes should enroll in this.
Thank you, Lynn.
Denise Barstow-Mans. Good job.
Thank you.
Jason Kostek. Got a jump start.
Congratulations.
Let's see, Richard Rudolph is not here, I don't believe. Right?
No.
Okay. Irene Costello is not
She was
here.
hoping she would make it, but yeah, I guess she didn't.
Crystal Jackson is
Congratulations. Talk to you soon.
What? Thank you.
You did an excellent job.
No pressure, Patrick. Martha.
Patrick Dragons.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Ricardo's not here.
No, he also thought he was going to make it, but didn't.
Okay, so just so people know, it's Ricardo Page. He works at the public safety complex. He's not a resident of the town, but he thought it would be a good idea to take the class. Karina Parsons.
She's not here.
That's a negative. Running out of people here. Renee Anderson.
Rennie's not here. She's in
Rennie?
Florida.
Okay. Martha Iser.
Congratulations.
Nice job.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Muriel Pierce.
She's also not here tonight.
Okay. All right, thank you all very much. And one thing I would like to add to all of this is I get to meet some people that I know live in town but never really had any association with them. So it was really nice to meet new people.
So I bet nobody over there is surprised what I'm going to ask, but can we take one quick picture with the select board? Please. Indulge me one last time, guys. Maybe just join the select board behind the table here. You knew, Denise, you knew I was going to ask.
Well, I think we probably should scooch anyway.
Everybody just gather. You can stay seated.
No, I mean the select board in general, maybe behind us.
Oh, the picture was actually created for the select board for use on an annual report by a Hopkins student named Stephen Cafillo. He did it as part of a project that they did for us. They submitted pictures, and we have 3 renderings from him, and he gave us permission to use them. So, like this.
Sure you don't want us seated in the front row?
Why don't you sit down? Sit down. It's going to take 2 seconds. All right. I'm just standing in front of your camera. I'm sorry. All right, everybody's looking this way, Amy. Thank you. 1, 2, 3. And from above, and from below, and this is how you torture people. I'm sorry. Thank you all so much. Y'all were wonderful, and can't say enough about this whole program. Y'all were the perfect class to kick it with.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have 16 minutes to wait till we can start the regular part of the meeting. You should go do whatever you need to do.
Do you need me to plug you in?
This is.
Want to 9-minute recess?
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Okay, Alex, you good? Nick, you're still here with us. Thank you. All right, it is 6 o'clock on Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. Welcome to the Hadley Select Board meeting. With me this evening on the Select Board is Amy Parsons, Jane Nevin-Smith, myself, Randy Iser, Molly Keegan, and David Phil. Pursuant to Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022 as amended, this meeting is being conducted in a hybrid format. The public has been provided with adequate alternative means of access via Zoom as noted in the posted meeting notice, along with access and participation instructions. As chair, I hereby notify all participants that this meeting is also being recorded by the town through Hadley Media and will be made accessible to the public in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F. Any person who intends to record or transmit this meeting must inform the chair at this time. Anybody recording? Hearing none, I will say nobody's recording. Okay, let's get right into it. We already had our Citizens Academy graduation, so item 2.2 of the appointments is water tank project update. So we have Scott McCarthy. Of course, I'm terrible with names, so please introduce yourself.
Scott McCarthy, Director of Public Works, and this is Jennifer Reynolds from Ty and Bond as our consultant for the water tank project. So just wanted to come in front of you again and give you another update of where we are with the project. You know, months back, Jennifer and Jeff gave you a little update, and we're ready to give you another one and ask for direction of what we want to do next. We're at a point where we need to decide to move forward with a 90% design where we really have real plans, real numbers, and just not a dream anymore. Here's what we have, and we're moving forward. Friday, myself, Jennifer, Randy, and Tony, and another gentleman from Ty and Bond, we did a site walk about Mount Warner to look at the the alternate site that we've been talking about for the water tank. And, there's going to be some challenges with that, and just moving forward, I think we really need to look at this hard and have factual information and not maybes. I think the price of this is very expensive. We have to have everything in line so we know what we're looking for. Continue looking for grant opportunities, under other funding sources, et cetera, to keep this project moving forward. We have to do something. Obviously, we talked about this, that, we have notice from the DEP that we have to do something. So I think it's in our best interest to keep moving forward. But, obviously that comes with a price too.
Could you refresh everyone's memories as to why we're looking at the alternate site?
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago, we had a sanitary survey, which the state comes and inspects the water system. And the water, when they inspected the water tanks, they're in the 50-year plus or minus mark. They need a lot of updates. They're bare steel tanks. They need paint work. They need, safety updates to climb the tanks and valving, and, the list goes on. And we looked into it, and just the paint work, whatever, is hitting the tune of $3 million. And the life expectancy of the tank is still kind of unknown because it's bare steel. But this paint job here, you do $3 million. Okay, what are you going to buy yourself? 10 years, whatever. It's just, we decided it wasn't feasible to do that. For the full replacement, is in the $9 million mark, and then you'll be good for, the next 7,500 years, hopefully, with a, replacement project with, modern technologies. So here we are with the project, and I'll let Jennifer talk to you. And
well, I think to also tag on answering your question, the alternate site is appealing because
taking the existing Mount Warner tank out of service and running off of only the one Mount Holyoke tank is not ideal from a hydraulic standpoint in terms of supplying the needed pressure to the customers and having adequate fire flow. Operating on basically one tank on your system is just very challenging from a modeling. Like that's what our modeling has shown us. And so if you sequence the work right, having the alternate site means you can always have two tanks in service while you're building. So you build on the alternate site, you operate off of the existing Mount Warner and the new Mount Warner on the alternate site, and then you can redo the Mount Holyoke tank, and then you come back and demolish. So that's really appealing. And I think one of the reasons why that site originally became an area of interest. The other reason is that the existing Mount Warner tank, even if hydraulically you could make it work, it's really has a lot of space constraints, and some of the existing fence and the smaller abandoned tank on site is actually off the town's property and on the neighbor's property, and they would really like to resolve that. So if you even then, come back within the property line, it's just not a lot of space to work from. And so I think the alternate Mount Warner site does really help with the flexibility of getting the tanks built, keeping the water supply sort of stable and adequate for the community, and then resolving some of those property line issues. Those are the main drivers.
Yeah, and just to touch on the property up there, years back, whatever, even like cutting trees, like trimming trees up there was a real challenge because they're not on our property. We're trying to protect our asset, but the trees aren't on our property. And even get permission to do some tree work up there, whatever, was very challenging from the owners. And it'd be very beneficial to the town to get this on the alternate site where we're really in control of our asset. We own the property there. We can do whatever we'd like. But again, the alternate site, has its challenges that we need to somehow figure out. This is Jeff Faulkner from Tyandan also. He's the lead of the project.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, did you have other questions? Otherwise, I can just give a quick update on the work we've completed. That was the other part I was going to speak on. Okay, so we're about wrapped up this current phase of work, which is really a preliminary design phase. So we submitted to Scott a draft preliminary design memo and 30% drawings. And we've been finalizing an opinion of cost, and we're hoping to get that final draft to him by the end of the month. Part of that included, hydraulic modeling. We did field work over the summer to sort of inform that preliminary design, and we were able to advance the Mount Holyoke site. So I would say a pretty solid 30%. The alternate site, we did more of an analysis to see pros and cons of it. And I think where we've landed is that it's mostly pros and it's worth pursuing. And so if you guys wanted us to proceed, we would do additional survey of that site. We would do a preliminary layout, sort of confirming tank location, confirming the best alignment to build an access road to site that balances, the constraints on the site and also the cost of building a road. I think there's definitely some challenges. That site has some pretty steep grades. We've kicked around a couple alternatives that we would want to pursue, at least initially, just to pick a solid path that we think is going to give you guys the best cost. And then from there, we would, move on to final design, which would include some geotechnical work to see the suitability of, the subsurface for building a foundation for tanks of these sizes. And then, like we said, get to 90% specs and drawings and have a 90% cost, so you could see where things land.
And that 90% would be what you need to apply for grants?
Not necessarily. Like the 90% is what you need to do construction, go out to a bid phase where you have a hard plan of this is the job and this is what it is, and not the maybes are out of the question. And I guess
we've already applied for grants for this project.
Yeah.
Town meeting approved, I think, a third of the total price.
no, we had to approve the entire price.
Beforehand,
Right.
And then we've applied for the balance of the total project, and we're denying that grant. So still So,
So how much is the town in dollars approved?
well, yeah, the total cost of the project is $9 million. Each town has approved that in, and then the DPW will be applying for grants to cover as much as we possibly can. But the only way to move forward with the project and to be able to apply for grants is you have to have the funding source. So that's where we're kind of stuck. It was a super important project. And unfortunately, the sizable grant that we applied for.
And I was wasn't this, thinking, if we started this probably 3 years ago, started talking about it, and I thought that, and Linda, correct me if I'm wrong, it's possible, probable, but I thought that we were good with allowing the 9,000, we know we're hoping to get the grant, but it was also because there was something coming off. Correct. So it would be part of like debt exclusion, is that right? Is that not debt exclusion, but.
Correct. We had, that was the Callahan Wells project was coming off. I don't really exactly remember, but it was, we were going to, if this was going to proceed on the schedule that we hoped at the time. Then the two projects were going to overlap 1 year. And then basically the new project would sort of slip right into that same payment schedule as the wells. We probably have to do, I think we're gonna have to borrow the longer or something, but the idea was to try and keep those payments, both the tax portion and the water basic portion. Well,
So the cost of this has already been approved by town meeting.
Well, up to $9 million. And that's another thing that's kind of in question right now, like our preliminary, look at the job, topographical, whatever. Yeah, okay, we think we can do this from $9 million, give or take. Well, the cost of everything, as you know, is escalated. And now we have a potential problem with the current site. It's not really adequate. So now we're looking at an alternate site, which is going to change the scope a little bit. We need to figure out how to get a road in there and move our pipe infrastructure to that location. It adds to the project. Some, I'm not sure how much, pipe work and road building it's not like it's a highway. It's just going to be a gravel road, but still costs money. And
there's also some land ownership issues of the project fit on the property as viewed. So there's probably gonna have to be some negotiation, of butters and landowners and things like that. So these are all things that are gonna fluctuate the costs of the total project.
So we won't have the information to do that until we go to this next phase to find out if it's feasible.
correct.
I got it.
And just for the record, the abutter is, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that we're going to have to talk to try to figure this out. So,
We can talk to DEP.
but anyways, just, I think it's, very important to the town to move forward with this. I think we're in this now. We've spent, substantial money to get to this point, and I don't think it's in our best interest to stop. Randy went to the site with me. He looked at it. I think he has a good understanding what this is going to take. And, I just think, it'd be in our best interest to move forward.
So I have the only question I have, and I know that it's going to be difficult probably to answer. Like, I know that we were originally like, okay, 9 million, give or take. Like, what are we up to now? Roughly, give or take.
With the design cost that we're into the project with so far,
Or the,
or the
what are we
project?
projecting the
Yeah.
construction cost to be? It's still in the 9 million range, actually, even with the alternate site, but it is, we had to make some assumptions. The road, like how long the road would be, what kind of, well, we assumed it was going to be a gravel road, but, we had to make some assumptions about how much it would cost to build the access primarily to the site. We have a pretty good estimate for the tanks themselves. But we're definitely still in the 9 million range. It feels like it's within the margin of error.
Yeah, so the 9 million included contingency. So we're eating a little bit into that contingency if we change sites, but we're still in that ballpark of about 9 million.
That's about 15% contingency.
Say that again?
Was it about 15%?
Originally at a 0% level, we held about 40% contingency.
Yeah.
Now I think we might be down to 15 or 20.
Yeah, now that we're closer to that 30%, naturally you would reduce the contingency as you progress the design. So it feels achievable. I mean, I think we're going to have to make some good value engineering decisions to not just keep it within that, but it does feel within range based on what we've seen so far,
The other reason why it hasn't, fully developed yet is we are still putting our ear to the ground for the grant opportunities to come in, which, the last year or two have been an interesting grant funding environment, to say the least.
No, I was just nervous because you were like, oh,
Yeah, see, right. And then that's what we want to try to avoid too, Amy. If we move forward, there's going to be no maybes. This is what it's going to cost. You want to do the job, you put it out the bid, and there you go. We're going to take the maybes out of the question. We're going to have solid figures and documents of what to expect.
Well, and then once we have a 90% plan and we get some solid numbers too, that gives us a little flexibility. Let's say it goes up to 10 million, then, we can make the decision of, all right, do we build the new tanks and then worry about, decommissioning and demoing the old tanks at a later date when some grant opportunities are there. Versus right now, we don't know how much that's going to cost. So just assuming we're going to do it all at the same time, but maybe we don't because we have to build in our budget. So it's.
Linda.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify with my answer, meaning it was based on the $9 million article, but our calculations of the cost in the water and the tax were on, what were we looking at? So we're using 30 or 40% of town meeting, I don't remember. It was just that it was the balance, something like $6 million.
Correct.
So the calculations were based on $6 million, so if we were to get a grant of a different size, lesser, then we'd want to recalculate. Let's see.
As we were hoping for 3 million.
Yeah.
One of the original funding agencies we were looking into was the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA. They offer grants, but they would, because of the economics of Hadley, they would actually only offer Hadley alone. So that's when the grant went away for that funding option. So still trying to find some other sources of grants.
When you say the economics of Hadley, you're talking about the relative wealth of Hadley, or you're talking about?
They have some equation about median income and
Exactly.
that type of thing. Yeah.
The usual.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just want to highlight that. Because we talk about that as kind of a general talking point when we're trying to explain sometimes to taxpayers why we aren't successful in getting grants. But this is a very specific instance to highlight that we lost a $3 million grant specifically because of the relative wealth of the town of Hadley.
And to me, the biggest deal here is how we get to the tank site. And there's two totally different routes that we could take. One is on town property, but it's got a lot of wetlands on it. The other is through the state's property, trustees of reservations, the Salamander Trail property, whatever you want to call it.
From the Mount Warner side?
Yeah, I mean, it's all from Mount Warner side, one's down below, one's up higher. We would try to tie into the existing part of the existing road that we use to get up to the tanks now. It would be a much easier way to go, but construction wise, but politically, I don't know if it's gonna work. But we've got to get somebody to start a conversation with the state and see if they want to play ball. And we may have land we could trade for the right to do this.
So we wouldn't be coming into the Mount Warner.
Yeah.
So the other
So
end of Mount Warner?
Mount Warner, if you know Mount Warner, down near where I live, it's kind of a straightaway, and then it goes up around the sharp bend, and the tanks are right here.
Yeah, and then the trustees is over here.
Well, it's all around it.
Yeah, well, right.
Yeah. And the new site would be over here.
Mhm.
And then we could access it from the existing road that's here, cut across the trustees' property, or the town down farther has a 50-foot strip that we own that would open up into the, I don't know how many acres is back, I don't remember, but it would open up into this. Again, there's lots of wetlands and things that would make things either impossible or extremely expensive,
So this is the trustees area. I'll play the check.
you know,
Okay.
so,
Gotcha.
okay,
I move we can move forward.
I think we have no choice. Because sooner or later it's gonna catch us, so we've got to move forward. So Jane made a motion to
Second.
David second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, anybody, now that we voted that, anybody have anything you wanna say about this?
Just one question. So this, the funding to go to the 90% plan is coming out of the money that was authorized at town meeting, or do we already have additional money set aside for the design?
We have some left in the initial design. Obviously, we'll use that first, but the balance is gonna have to come out of the money that was voted.
Okay.
And we haven't got that far kind of yet in the estimate of what that's gonna cost, but there is some money left, but not a lot.
A couple $100,000 to get to the 90%.
Probably in that range. We're still working on, I guess, the most efficient way to get you guys a scope, given I think the biggest question that Randy raised, which is how are we going to access the alternate site? The construction effort is different for those two different routes, as is the design and permitting effort. I was actually meeting with our permitting and site civil people this afternoon to talk about how they recommended we sort of scope it out for you guys so that we can really keep pushing through and get you a solid 90% CC land.
We all good?
Yep.
All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, moving along, item 3.1 consent agenda. On the consent agenda this evening, we have minutes from December 17th, 2025 and January 7th, 2026, and a common victular renewal license inspired by Opportunity DBA Wendy's.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Amy, second by David, with a close third, Jane. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. Item 4, public comment. Anybody here for public comment? Either in person or on Zoom? Okay, seeing none. Moving right along. Hiring freeze discussion. We've got several vacancies that are very critical, and we instituted a policy that we would not be doing any hiring without the select board and the finance committee having a discussion together about this, but they were invited tonight, but they couldn't get a quorum, so they're not here. We can talk about this, but we cannot make a decision at this point. So I would assume that the fire chief has something he would like to talk to us about.
Yeah, just wanted to start the discussion with you. I know that they couldn't make it tonight, but you're all aware that Jessica Merluzzi resigned, concerned about her safety on the department with the reduced staffing.
When you say safety, you mean employment safety, not physical safety.
Actual physical safety.
Oh, really?
So again, we've lost half of the fire department. So with that, shifts have been modified to be able to keep staffing on each shift. With that reduced staffing, there are times when you're by yourself. So if you're on a 24-hour shift by yourself and you're staying at Center Station or doing work up north and something big comes in, which you all did. We had a single firefighter on that night. He had to wait for call force to get in. And then myself and 2 people on that truck pulled hose line and did what we had to do. We're in critical phase right now. So the news doesn't get any better. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but we lost another firefighter due to an injury at home, not at work. Not sure, we have not received how long he will be out, but he did fracture his wrist. And so now we are down to 4. So that means we are again amending the staffing model so we can cover each shift. We have some firefighters that are young, that they're not ready to lead a shift. So we're trying to fill what we can on the overnight, and then I'm covering during the day again. So that's limiting my ability to get the 8,000 things that need to be done that I was splitting with Evan, and the other lieutenant that we had. So myself, Vern, we're, going as quick as we can to get inspections done, but they tend to get interrupted when a call comes out. So just some examples, so that, the viewing audience knows, but we obviously had a rough weekend with the snow that came through. We had a 5-car pileup down the street from my house, a couple folks injured. So our single engine company went to that. We had a second call come in down the street from my house again, the other direction. I was at home, so I responded to that. Fortunately, there were no injuries. And then a third accident over on South Maple occurred where there were additional, needs of the fire department ambulance. So not only were we calling mutual aid for ambulances, but we had to wait to see who would come back. We didn't have any call force folks available, so probably all out doing work. We did have Brian Washkevitz ended up being able to get back into the station to get to that call. So we're kind of we're in a critical way right now. I was hoping not to have to go back on 24-hour call again for the rest of my career. But I would like to discuss my time is coming to the end here, and we had discussed succession planning numerous times. The hope was it was going to be Evan. Evan is doing great in Granby. But we need to have the discussion of how we're going to fill these vacancies. And at a minimum, I'm asking that you support at least filling that one firefighter position, but I need to have a deputy chief. I can't do all this without somebody that can start assuming that role and taking on some of these responsibilities. I don't know how. I know there's the funding issue of how we can do it, but I would consider this an emergency situation for the fire department. We don't have the ability. We're having a hard time filling shifts. Call force folks, they're working during the day. One of my lieutenants is going away. I can't stop that. Another one is now on baby duty because his wife is back to work. So he's not available during the day, and limited at night. So it's a call force. I just received 2 more resignations just because they're too busy. So again, we have drill tonight and there's 5 people there. And it's hard to find folks that can actually commit to the training and the time. I'm actually technically on light duty because I slipped and fell going to a medical call down in the bay, twisted my knee again for the 87th time. But anyways, that's, again, my concern is I was fortunate that I didn't smack my head and knock myself out cold because I would have been out of camera view. I can tell you just good news. Michael Mazulis was on shift by himself. And again, we talk about having PD respond when they're available, but the entire police department was handling a pretty serious call. And we had a call for an unresponsive female in front of Lowe's. Michael Mazulis responded there like we do medically. Action Med 1 was en route to it, but he did 5 minutes of CPR on his own and was fortunate the daughter was able to help with getting defibrillator pads on. And then our call force folks that were able to came in and we ended up, having to drive the animals to the hospitals because they were working in the back and keep one person back in town. The list goes on. Brian's on shift alone today. And I was doing inspections and we had the call for Golden Court for what sounded like, the oops, I tried to cook. Turns out it wasn't just oops, I tried to cook. There was actually a fire on the stove because somebody forgot to shut the stove off with their chicken that was cooking. So he walked into a fully charged space with a dog in the space and fire blowing out of the pan on top of the stove. So again, this is all stuff that we need. We should have a minimum of 2 people going to at a minimum, and then me following behind. So again, I would like to start that discussion, request that the hiring freeze be lifted at a minimum for that one position, but then I would like to sit down with you. I don't know if it's an executive session, but some sort of a succession plan so that you're prepared for when I do step down as the chief, because it's going to take some time. It took 6 years with Evan to get him up to speed. So that's where I'm at right now.
So you see, you saying you're here for another 6 years at least?
No.
Our next meeting, the first meeting in February, the finance committee is scheduled to be, so we can certainly discuss it fully then.
Sure.
As you know, Mike, we're all on your side as best we can be under the circumstances.
If you do have the opportunity to, because all the folks at the department are asking, again, we have a gentleman who has responsibilities to the military. So if he gets activated or he has to do his 1 weekend or 2 weeks, I'm now down to 3. And again, we have zero bench strength right now. Somebody gets sick. So again, I would like to try and have a conversation with you of how we can fill these gaps with, potentially per diem folks. The problem is finding people that actually have the time to do that and are cleared from their departments to do it. I have some ideas to run by you, and again, just to discuss the succession plan. And I don't know if that's something that happens in open session or if it could happen in executive session to have those conversations.
Especially if you're talking about any railroad contracts and stuff.
So,
Do you have anybody in the department? I know you said about young firefighters, but do you have anybody in the department now that has expressed interest in the deputy position, or that you could foresee filling that position, or
no, it would be outside. I've been asking, obviously at our chiefs meetings. Most of the responses are like, "Are you out of your mind?" But I think, there are some folks that, they see what Hadley was doing here, and the team approach we have, the crew that we have, like I've told you 100 times, was impeccable, nothing but positive from all of our neighbors and how everything was working out. So we've taken a huge step back, but I think that, I have a few people in mind that I've started conversations with. Could it happen? Maybe, but it's going to depend on if they can afford to leave where they're at now. But certainly they would have, we're looking for somebody that can walk through the door, get on a fire truck and go, and not, we're not talking about starting somebody entry level yet. So somebody with experience. So we just build upon that and off to the races.
And I think, me personally, I think it's a no-brainer to replace the firefighter who exited after we had the last plan in place. And I'm certainly been fully support trying to hire that position. To the deputy position, I think, penny wise, pound foolish. If people think that, you give a date, whatever the date winds up being, right? And it's just you up until that point, and then, to save money, then we don't hire somebody until that point forward with no overlap. For a critical position doesn't make any sense to me. So I think we absolutely have to have the conversation about a succession.
And I think that's one of the biggest things you would see from somebody who would be interested in my position would be, I can't do this by myself. So, and it's not, again, it's the folks that I have are great. They're stepping up however they can. Even Heidi has taken on an excessive amount of stuff to try and keep our heads above water with grants and programming our software. We just had to go to a whole new federal system. It's called NERIS, where we have to do all reporting. So everybody's all hands on deck. It's just, we just don't have the bench strength to get it all done. You probably saw my email today where begging forgiveness for a quarterly report for a grant just because I haven't been able to get to it. So it's in now, it's done, so we're safe, but it's just a lot. It's a lot.
I mean, it's really what you're looking at is two different issues that I think even the finance committee can refer. One of them is a staffing issue that went through these negotiations, we tried to reduce the overtime, sessions on both sides, and then he lost staffing solo that way. So it's difficult to deal with, and now we're gonna see likely overtime go back up just because it's happening the staff those spots. And then the other part of the discussion is still your management of the fire department for future. So it's important stuff, and you know, nothing out of the realm of that we can't be successful in figuring this out. It's just as we thought, we're hoping for a by-board meeting this week. I've actually pushed Mike off in this conversation 2 different times because I thought we were going to be able to have by-board meetings and just holidays and everything else fell through. So we'll get it back up in 2 weeks. Bring the finance committee up to speed as you were brought up to speed today, and knock it through.
Yeah, the other thing I'd suggest is, I mean, I appreciate the fact, you know, if you know, their committee couldn't get quorum for the evening, but this seems like a time is of the essence issue as well. And I know that, you know, obviously we made a commitment that I want to honor, but we need to have this conversation as soon as possible. So for whatever reason, if we can't get the finance committee together, I think this board needs to make a decision.
Well, it's not like we're doing anything that's not budgeted for.
But
so I mean,
Well,
not.
I mean, it's not necessarily accurate just because of the fact. So one of the positions you'd be okay
Yeah.
to replace. It's the management part of the position of the fire department, the succession plan departments.
But that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
I mean, the sooner that we get
Yeah,
the you know, duty firefighter job posted, the faster this guy can hire somebody.
yeah.
If we wait 2 weeks to have that discussion, now that's another.
I'm sure, I'll speak for this board, I'm sure we're all happy to jump on some extra meeting at some point, as long as we can get some finance forum there and have that discussion without waiting until the first week of February.
I'm good with that.
I appreciate it because it's gonna take some time. I don't know if I can just say we're in the process of a acting lieutenant's position as well, because we need officers on each shift. Unfortunately, one of them's injured now, so we were about to go through that process, just so you're aware, because they have more requirements for their shifts. And it's not just taking the helmet. We have a whole testing procedure coming up for them. So, but we need somebody to take charge of each of these shifts, and everything's changed now with, you know, the change of the guard here. So we feel that's important. But as far as discussions in the future, whatever you feel you need for information from me, if you could let me know what you are looking for, if we can meet in an executive session, I will certainly give you the succession plan of what I feel we need to get to. I was hoping this year was going to be the clean up the disaster in my office and have everything ready to go, but that's become a challenge because there's so many reports that have to be entered, and you know, Vern and I are religiously getting out every second that we can to get our annuals done. And I can tell you that there's been some real challenges on that side too. We've been finding some really concerning stuff going on in some of these buildings that we're not aware of because the building department's not aware of. Some hazardous situations. We found another one that we caught today that we're dealing with, that it's really important that this fire prevention really be on top of it as well.
Talking about like, you know, blocked exits.
Sprinkler systems that are shut off, fire alarms that are in trouble, hazardous material storage that shouldn't be where it is. So, and then communicating that to all the different departments that are helping with it. So conservation, Board of Health. We have a full plate right now with, I want to say, at least six things where we're probably going to be issuing fines and tickets. So.
And Mike Mason, is the hiring freeze, is the fire department the only department that's impacted by this, or is there some other department we need to consider as well at this time?
I would like to request that at the next meeting, whether it be the Zoom or whatever you want to do, that you also start to discuss unfreezing the town administrator. you know, for those of you, you all check in with me, I really appreciate it, but probably know for a while that it's been far too much for far too long. I know it's not a great time, with, don't know if we're gonna go for an override or if not, financial future of the town, but I don't know that it's something that can get solved overnight, so I think it's something that really needs to begin. And, you know, there's some personal stuff as well with me, you know, quality of life issues and things. It's been a lot of things on hold for a year and a half in my personal life, and you know, health stuff that I can certainly explain more in executive, but I think that we need to really start moving forward with that as well. So I would also need to request that you know, start talking through solutions and potential forward movement in that area. If it's tomorrow. But I don't think it will be, so we gotta start.
Okay.
If it's sooner rather than later, great. But this town deserves a professional that can dedicate the amount of time that this job requires, and my department deserves, you know, the same level of attention. And I don't think either have been getting what they deserve for a while. It's just too much for one person.
Good. We appreciate what you're saying, and we'll do what we can to help you. Jane?
I would argue that the town has $72 million worth of building insurance, various properties in town. We have lost one building maintenance person, and in the spring, we're going to lose the other building maintenance person. That means we have $72 million with nobody looking at it. This is critical. I think those positions have got to be unfrozen. Building maintenance.
I just think, I don't disagree with you, Jane, that it's important. I think we just need to be careful of how we do it, because based on the last override vote, the sentiment was we've got too much of everything, whether that's right or wrong. And we said, all right, we're gonna take a step back, we're gonna figure out some cost savings and whatnot. And I think if we, obviously like the firefighter, we gotta fill those positions, but if we start going down the list of, well, every department needs something, I think we're gonna be back at the same spot the next town meeting where we have to go for another override. Or you guys did absolutely nothing. You froze things for a couple months and then you brought them all right back. So I think we just need to be very careful about how we make the changes in the unfreezing. I'm not saying it's not needed, but you know.
Well, it would definitely be good at that discussion, so I'm sure. Sure, it's gonna come up with the finance committee, what's not getting done. Right, so to Jane's point, being able to articulate that. Is probably a good idea.
I didn't have any other identified positions at this moment. But if anything comes up, then we're gonna get into Q2 stuff and be a little budget. But you know, we're working through with the department heads now. Really kind of smashing what was supposed to be 2 weeks worth of budget meetings into 4 days. So we're learning a lot, and we're trying to look for those efficiencies and, you know, show what David was just saying, which is basically, we're asking the department heads, what do you think if there could be a combination between your department and the other department? Is there anything that you could use that they have and vice versa? We're asking all those questions, trying to get some answers as it relates to stuff like that, so we can show if it's something that has changed between last time you asked and the next time.
Yeah, and part of the reality of what's happening here is we unfortunately are learning as we do. We really don't understand the impacts of laying people off. I mean, we know that it's going to save us money, But until it happens and then we see what actually doesn't get done, then that kind of impacts our decision moving forward. So it's a moving target, unfortunately. If it was just dollars and cents, okay, math is math, but this is way more involved than that, way more complicated. And we are going to do the best we can to try to save money, and we don't have the money to just go hire people. To David's point, we can't do that. We got to have the money before we start hiring people. So,
Yeah, I mean, as it relates to your hiring freeze, I think this board and the finance committee need to identify a high watermark of what constitutes an emergency and what does not.
Mhm.
And if it does not meet that level, does not rise to that level, cannot consider unfreezing that position. It's just, as David said, that's what people are going to be looking for. And I agree with him. Where he is right now, I believe that, that hits your high water, but not my decision making as seeking that. So I think that's how you should approach this, because until a decision is made to go for an override or not, there's a high likelihood that you will be approached by more department heads as time goes on. I believe this constitutes an emergency. I think we should look at this position. Just can't.
Yeah.
It's
Understood. Anybody have anything else? Thank you. Appreciate it. Right. Moving on to new business, form of government update.
Yes.
Who's going to speak to this? Gary Carney is going to speak to this,
Accompanied by
Miss Squire.
Got both lists.
You need two lawyers at a time to handle your board.
Our rules never go alone to anything. Then they'll say, well, you said I could do that. Gotta have a second. Hello. Good to finally be back. So I'll give a short overview reminder. Form of Governance Committee, you guys formed us. It's me and Bill and John Silvestro, John Allen, and Sally Lanowski. And of course, Molly, it's always around helping us out. And David. Yes. So I filled you in briefly. We were rushing it because of budget stuff last time I was here. We've just done some background. We had consultants come in and help us understand, the different options for the form of governance. We're pretty limited in Hadley due to the size of the town. Like we can't, get a mayor or a town manager. We have town meeting and a town administrator. So what you had sent us off to do is we recommended a strong town administrator, more authority than the current town administrator position has. And we're gonna take the current bylaw and we edited it using some of the language from the South Hadley special act that sets up their town administrator to give us a new bylaw that you can decide to whether take that to town meeting or not, but we put it together. I don't know if you have it. I did send it.
It was in Word docs.
Okay. So we have, I'm not going to read it to you or anything, but I just want to point out a couple of key points just to describe the documents. I think one has red line, which is the language that we borrowed from South Hadley with some Hadley tweaks to it. We don't have the same committee names or all the same committees. The other one is sort of a clean version with some points that I've highlighted. One is that we recommend that there's several ways to do it. For all hiring except for the big three, the two chiefs and DPW superintendent or whatever it is. All other hiring is done by the town administrator. It will obviously notify the select board, but you guys wouldn't get involved in any of that. For the big three, there's a couple of options or a few options. We think it makes sense to do, town administrator does the hiring with approval of the select board, so they don't make a hiring decision or offer until you guys weigh in. There's other ways to do that. You can do it in consultation with the select board or, notification to the select board. So there's different, however much you guys want to be in, we can tweak the language. There's a few different places where that comes into play. The other thing is we're trying to get some language in first big one. We added section 1 for the roles and responsibilities of select board, which we discovered in our research. There's nothing written in Hadley or what your roles and responsibilities are. Obviously, there's state law, but we don't have a nice, clear, like, select board's going to do this, town administrator's going to do that. So we took that language from South Hadley and tweaked it so that the whole section 1 is brand new to our bylaw. So then back into section 2, that one other issue there is section 6.3. We're trying to deal with a problem which I believe has not occurred, but could occur. There are 1 or 2 staff members who report to another board. They're not under your jurisdiction, they're under another one. So the town administrator has authority over everyone who reports to the select board. Technically, right now, does not have authority over those couple of other little things. Not been a problem, but you can see, they work alongside all the other employees. So if that board's letting the person come and go or work from home when other people can't, or if someone's a problem in the office and is in one of those roles, we wanted to come up with some language so that the town administrator would have authority to take actions to keep the office running. So if there's a problem with one of those people, they could deal with it in consultation with the board that is the officer. They wouldn't have to wait for a quorum to have a whole meeting. They could take action, then go talk to that board about it. So that's the language in 6.3 that I wanted to flag. For the only thing I've left is next steps. We would finalize this input from you good folks. I think it would be good to have a select group of town employees look at it as well. And, say like, hey, that sounds nice, but that's not at all how the world works. So you need to change that. And I recommend that we work with you to finalize whatever language, and then you can take it to town meeting when you want. We'll be there for any support. But I would recommend that we end this form of governance committee with this draft bylaw, and we can reconstitute later when there's an actual town administrator who is dedicated to doing that job and has been in it a bit. In that group, maybe it's all the same people again, but maybe you go out for more committee members. That group can look at whether we want more boards to be appointed rather than elected and other things like that. There are other governance issues that can be considered, but this seemed like the most urgent to you was the town administrator roles and responsibilities. So that is what we have offered. Yes.
I have a question. Having tried to read this, I did read it. So is the superintendent of schools totally independent of this side of the town, shall we say?
That's my understanding.
That's my understanding too. Under the Ed Reform Act, the superintendent works for the school committee.
Okay.
And the only point of intersection really is budgeting.
My guess is I don't mean that one as one of those little outliers that reports to, we're not going to have the town administrator acting on the superintendent of schools without talking to the school committee.
Well, library, not library, assessor.
Library.
You have a hard time.
Yeah.
The assessor has there's one person in the assessor's office who was appointed by the assessors. There was maybe 1.5 people in the Board of Health who are appointed by the Board of Health.
Billion. The Park and Rec.
Park and Rec has one employee, period.
Yeah.
but yes, she is the appointee of the Park and Rec Commission. So yeah, there are a few out there. One thing I would want to add, the consultant did offer us two paths forward. One is a special act, which they were in fact encouraging because a special act is more durable, they felt. Our consensus was that a special act might be fine, but we have a bylaw in place. It created the position of town administrator in the first place, and it's a lot easier to tweak a bylaw than it is to tweak a special act. Even if the legislature is going to rubber stamp it, it still takes a while for that to happen. And it's a lot easier for us to manage our own bylaw. And basically, this puts us in the same position. Right now, you have a situation where you have what's called a strong fire chief. He hires and fires. You have a strong police chief. He hires and fires. Oh, you don't have a strong police. Well, you have a strong.
You have a strong police chief, but the fire chiefs were definitely on the table when they wrote that law because they have a lot of power.
Oh, okay.
I have no hire, fire, function, no budgetary control.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the next committee.
So it's not unheralded. You do have that to some extent already. You know, I've watched meetings where Scott is not able to hire a plow driver for the upcoming storm because you aren't meeting for 2 weeks.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's great.
part of it's reaction to something like that.
Sure. There's a lot of the stuff that happens that we just go by somebody's recommendation because that's the process. They've done the interviewing and getting these people lined up, and then we have to rubber stamp it. And I agree that it's pretty wasteful and it slows down the
You have
process.
more important things
Yeah.
to do.
What was the word you used, Bill, that the consultant said that the active legislature would be more durable?
That's what they seem to feel.
And did they explain what that meant?
Not to our satisfaction. I shouldn't say that. Not to my satisfaction.
Okay.
So are they speaking more of like a employment litigation after the fact where someone was
Maybe, or that it would be more attractive to a candidate to be working under a special act because it couldn't be changed
willy-nilly.
willy-nilly.
So
Well, if they know anything about Hadley, they know it won't be changed willy-nilly. Nothing's that easy. So it'll take time.
Yeah, just.
So I'll ask the attorneys. So as we know, with sometimes town administrators, you know, some are better than others. Some are more, let's say, have the best results for the town in their point more than others. And so I know one of the questions that probably get from people at town meeting is if we have a town administrator that is not the best, or we're trying to replace, or is retiring and kind of checked out or something like along those lines. With this authority given to them as the hiring and firing authority for the vast majority of employees in town, especially department heads that may matter. Yes, there's a notification to the select board or maybe consultation, however you want to word it. But is there any way that if the town administrator says, I'm gonna hire this guy off the street with no experience, no reason for them to be in that job, that we could overrule them or veto that in the future? Because I know that's one of the things we're gonna hear is, well, you got this out of towner that's your town administrator. They don't know how things work in Hadley and they're giving all the power to this guy. So I just want to, is there something in there that could be as a
Yeah.
check and balance?
It's not in there now, but we can add it, you know. Select board has veto authority and they notify you, we've offered this job and you can look at the stuff if you want to get into it and look at those things.
But and it can also just be part of the performance. I mean, the way that the superintendent's job works, right? You could have the same situation, but it also becomes the select board holding the town administrator accountable. So I would imagine that, you know, if we do go this route, if town meeting agrees we should go this route, then the manner in which we hold the town administrator accountable has to change, to your point. right? So whether if I'm a little bit worried about building in veto authority, but we could talk about
Yeah,
it.
it's just we give you options.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
I can write anything you want.
But it may be more about the oversight.
Right.
Right.
Just so something to make the argument to the townspeople that, hey, it's not just this one person that's not even elected making all the decisions that, and we don't have any say, that's all.
It's always under your jurisdiction.
Right.
So it's a matter of how you approach it. Just to give you an example of a possible correlation that popped in my head, but still have a flu. So, strong fire chiefs, they have full authority over the policies of their department. So the fire chief can write and enact policy as he sees fit without select board approval. Strong police chiefs can write and enact policy, but it has to go for the select board. Select board can choose to not take action on policy, and then after 30 days, policy can be enacted by MGL. So it's not veto authority necessarily, but it kind of gives you that buffer. And if you want to build something like that into the language, it's something that you can look at. There certainly are ways to.
Yeah, I don't know how we do hiring now. If we have a probationary period where they can, it comes to the select board's attention that someone completely unqualified has been hired. They're still in their probation period. You tell your town administrator to get rid of them.
Well, and again, the current policy is they get recommended to be fired.
Right.
They come here and we say yes, because we trust the people that are running the departments. And as Molly likes to say, this is the first read. And so we're going to we'll all review it. And is this something we're attempting to get on to the Springtown meeting?
Well, I mean, I think that's something.
I think
should
there's
because.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think there might be some other conversations.
You think?
Yeah, we've got to put it in the context of what's in front of us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But in a perfect world, would your goal be to get it to Springtown meeting?
In my perfect world, yes.
It might be busy. I know we're at planning board, we're talking about 5 zoning articles, which are not big ones. Evolutionary, not revolutionary, but there are things that it's going to be a full plate.
Let it be known that the planning board forced the second evening of town meeting.
so you were looking to dissolve the committee, but I'm thinking if we need amendments, that maybe we should hold off on dissolving it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd stay constituted at least through whatever you do with the town meeting and such, but I don't know if we would continue doing monthly meetings if you don't have feedback.
As Mary indicated, we, based on prior conversations, we started with a wide open charge to look at everything, but what seemed to be most in need of addressing was this. And once we're through with this, whether there is anything more that we are needed for, we can discuss that.
Yeah, we thought that it would all the other things would be better with the participation of the town administrator. So since we don't have a town administrator, we're kind of either be on hiatus for a while or, see if you can get a new committee. I don't know.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I guess it depends on whether we feel like if we disband you temporarily, will you come back together, or do we need to keep you together so you can't do that?
Well, you might need a new chair. I'm happy to stay on as clerk, but I don't know if I want to be chair much longer, just through this part.
It's that burnout that we all hear.
Well, I've got a historical commission now, and that's where my real passion is. So you need time for them.
Oh, I was gonna say, and kind of what I had in mind here, it just goes out there and maybe what Molly said as far as town administrator is better, but like with the ZBA decision, it's published and then they have an appeal period with a certain number of days. Obviously, we're not gonna wait 30 days or whatever it is for a hiring decision. But upon notification of the select board, if there was an issue maybe from department head level, and, you know, we get a week or something like that to object and then have a discussion about it. Just for that, I'm not saying we need to review a snowplow truck driver or something along those lines, but I want to have a check and balance just in case we have a spot where we have a town administrator that's not doing what's in the best interest. That's all.
Well, and I bet my bottom dollar that some of the people that are worried about that are the first ones to complain about some of our hiring decisions. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure how it'll all work.
Just, we can all read it over and if you have any suggestions, we can come back to the table with it.
Yep, happy to make any edits or rethink the whole structure if you don't like that, but we'd rather not do that.
Thing we like about this is it's substantially based on the South Hadley Act. So we've had feedback that South Hadley generally is pleased with how their form of government overall is working.
So that makes it somewhat durable.
It's been shown to work.
Okay, well, I'm sure we all, but specifically, I appreciate what you've done here so far. I'm sure it's taken a lot of your time and what I did read the document, not completely, but it looks like you put some serious effort into it. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, and I just want to personally thank Mary for keeping the group together. So herding cats is the expression that comes into mind at times.
These are busy people, as you all know, same as you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all very much. Do the work. Okay, item 6.2, Mass Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy CPACE program. We have a guest on Zoom, Connor Lachine from the Mass Development Green Finance Team. Will talk to us about this.
Yes, hi everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I would turn on my video too, sorry, but it's saying it's disabled by the host. So sorry if you can't see me. But thank you for the opportunity to allow me to talk to you about the CPACE program tonight. The reason why I'm here tonight is because a local business in Hadley approached Mass Development a couple months ago, interested in pursuing this program. And what it is a form of financing for property owners of commercial properties to install energy improvements or for new construction projects that meet certain guidelines. And I can share my screen. I just sent a request to share my screen because I do have a presentation that I don't know if you folks got a copy of that, but if you don't, you will see it in a second.
Hold on, there you go.
Can you all see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just go into presentation mode. All right, so just a little quick background. If you're unfamiliar with who Mass Development is, we are the Commonwealth's Development Finance Agency and Land Bank. We're a quasi-public authority. We work with businesses, nonprofits, financial institutions, and communities to stimulate economic growth throughout the state. We promote capital investment and economic development by providing financing and development solutions, and the PACE program is one of those solutions. In fiscal year 2025, we financed or managed 409 projects, generating an investment of more than $4.6 billion in the Massachusetts economy. And obviously, we do have a big stress on housing production as well. So we've created or supported over 25,000 jobs and built or preserved over 2,800 housing units. Kind of the local angle for Hadley. In September 2025, 2 Hadley small businesses were the recipients of our food insecurity grant program. I believe one was called Pulse Cafe and the other was the barbecue restaurant. So it's Mass Development. We have a number of different programs, whether it's grant programs or financing solutions that can help local towns and cities with economic development. And like I said, PACE is one of those. It's an acronym which stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy. You may hear it referred to as CPACE. That just means Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy. Some states have a residential PACE program. In Massachusetts, we just have a commercial program. And like I said, what it is it allows for property owners of commercial entities to finance energy improvements or for new construction projects, and the financing is repaid via a special betterment assessment on their property tax bill. So that's where the municipality would come in, which is why this program is voluntary for municipalities to join. Think of it as a public-private partnership to unlock private financing opportunities for commercial properties. The benefits of PACE for municipalities, it's job creation. You can bring jobs into your town, construction jobs or new businesses, things like that. And the environmental benefits associated with reducing energy consumption. For the property owners, the reasons why PACE is beneficial is that it's long-term non-recourse financing. It's a 20-year financing period, and that's determined by state statute. And PACE doesn't show up as new debt on the balance sheet. It's essentially almost treated as like a real estate tax because the financing is tied to the property and not the borrower. And there's no required payoff upon sale of the property. If that occurs, the assessments would run to the new owner. So that's what kind of differentiates PACE from traditional financing opportunities and why it might be more attractive for those reasons. For lenders or the mortgage holders, it's improved cash flow and reduced credit risk from lower operating costs via financing that cannot be accelerated. And its capital improvements could also increase the collateral property value. Massachusetts isn't the only state, like I mentioned, that has a CPACE program. Right now, there's 32 states plus DC have an active commercial program. Over $9.7 billion has been financed for over 3,500 projects as of June 2025. And the graph at the bottom of the screen is just the CPACE dollars funded by building type. So you can see that hospitality, office, retail, industrial are kind of the big utilizers of PACE financing, followed by mixed use, multifamily, and so on. So it just shows you how kind of versatile PACE financing can be used for different kind of commercial entities. I won't go through this whole slide, just kind of some more background on PACE. Essentially, every state in New England, except for Vermont at this point, has a CPACE program. Connecticut's been out doing CPACE deals since 2011. They're kind of like the gold standard of a PACE program nationally. In Massachusetts, we're trying to model our program after them. So our program originally launched back in 2020 in the summer. Wasn't the best time to launch a new program and spread the word about this to municipalities. And it originally was only for a retrofit project, so PACE could only be applied to for existing buildings. And then new construction projects became eligible in May of 2023. Mass Development is the program administrator, but we also work in consultation with the Massachusetts Department of Energy Resources, the DOER. They basically write the policy, they write our technical guidelines, and they also have to approve any project application that we receive. There's a lot of more information on our website, including an open RFI for capital providers and other resources at massdevelopment.com under the Green Finance section. Right now, our PACE guidelines were on version 2.1. They were most recently updated in March of 2025, which included some updates for new construction projects. This slide just goes over the PACE flow of funds. It's all private capital providers, so it's not Mass Development's money that's extended for financing, and it's repaid via the special betterment assessment, which is collected by the municipality. So again, that's where that public-private partnership will come in. So the financing is provided all up front to the property owner after the application's been approved. We notify the town as well anytime we kind of get an application that we know is nearing approval or about to get approval. We'll notify the town that there's that active application. I did note at the beginning of the presentation that we've had a business reach out to us about their interest, but they have not officially applied yet because most often that costs money for the business to do that. So they wanted us to talk to the town first about this program before kind of making any official steps. So the property owner installs the energy improvements, or it's the new construction development, and they start to pay the betterment assessment. Usually what a town elects to do is have the betterment assessment to show up on the property tax bill and follow the property tax bill cycle. I'm not sure how frequently Hadley bills their property taxes, but most towns and cities in Massachusetts either do it quarterly or biannually. So that's how the repayment schedule can get structured as well. Let's say, for example, if it's a biannual property tax cycle, a commercial property that uses PACE financing would have two payments per year for 20 years. And that schedule is kind of set out and agreed to by all parties. In mass development, we work with the local town or city and the staff to make sure that everything with the billing and everything like that cycle is moving forward as possible, because we understand sometimes there's staff turnover and things like that. And mass development actually engages a betterment assessment consultant called Municap. Municap is an expert in local government systems, especially tax systems. So if the town some towns don't do betterment assessments. So if Hadley's one of those towns, they can work with the town on how to educate staff and get that done. And it's at no cost to the town. Mass development pays for that cost. After the municipality bills and collects the betterment assessment, they disperse the payment back to our paying agent. Our paying agent at this time is Zions Bank. They get the payment back from the town or city, and then they send it back to the original capital provider that provided the financing. So that's kind of at a high level how the flow of funds works. This next slide is eligible properties for new construction and existing buildings. So think commercial industrial buildings, so office buildings, malls, hotels, restaurants, manufacturers. Non-for-profits can also qualify if they pay a pilot agreement to the town or city, or if the town or city is able to generate a property tax bill for that non-for-profit, that's how they can qualify. And then multifamily housing counts as commercial properties in Massachusetts if it's 5 units or more. So those are all the types of eligible properties that can pursue PACE financing. The eligible measures for PACE, these are just some of them, not all of them. These are kind of the most common that we get. On the energy efficiency side for existing buildings, a new energy management system, replacing or improving insulation and air sealing, new HVAC systems, replacing old boilers and furnaces, new lighting, energy recovery and redistribution systems. On the renewable energy side, solar panel installation, that's probably the most popular at the moment, solar hot water, geothermal. And the business owner that approached us in Hadley that's interested in PACE financing is looking to do a rooftop solar installation on their property. Here, the next few slides are just some case studies to show you. So what other projects in Massachusetts we've closed and what they've done with PACE financing. This was actually the very first deal that was closed in Massachusetts in Greenfield, Mass. It was a blighted historic 12,000 square foot building that was rescued and transformed. The building systems needed major upgrades, and PACE allowed the owner to retroactively finance the cost of energy improvements into a fixed 20-year term. So PACE can also be applied to retroactively as well. There's a 18-month window once the certificate of occupancy is received where a property owner can apply retroactively for CPACE. And what this property owner did is they installed a 30 kilowatt solar PV system on the roof, efficient electrification of space heating, energy recovery ventilation, LED lighting and controls, and improvements to their windows and insulation. The lifetime energy savings is estimated to be 189,000 kilowatts. The capital provider who gave the financing for this project was Nuveen Green Capital, and the mortgage holder that provided their consent to the deal was Berkshire Bank, and it was a financing amount of $450,000 being repaid over 20 years. Next couple of slides are just some more case studies. I won't go line by line just for the sake of time. But this was a property in East Boston over by the airport. Similar improvements to this building, including a new roof. So a new roof is eligible for CPACE financing, especially if you want to install a solar system on the roof. That's why that would be eligible. Nuveen provided the financing here, and People's United Bank was the mortgage holder. Slightly larger financing amount, just over $787,000 being repaid over 20 years. This was Cargo Ventures project again over by the airport. The largest kind of facility that we've worked with, it was 150,000 square foot mixed use facility. Again, similar improvements to this building, as well as they did building envelope upgrades, including air sealing and window and door weatherization. So like I said, just shows you how versatile PACE is for all the different eligible measures for existing or new construction buildings. The only thing I'll note that's a little different from the other projects that we've done here is that there was also a ground lease acknowledgement. Massport owned the land here, so Massport also had to provide their written consent to the deal, as well as the mortgage holder, and this was just over $1.1 million in financing. This was the most recent deal we did. pretty clean cut and dry deal of just doing a solar installation project, just over $1.1 million in financing. And it was Amalgamated Bank's first deal as well here in Massachusetts. And they're very excited to try and do some more. They're very motivated. Key elements of PACE. So the reason why we're all here tonight, or why I'm here, I should say, is the municipal opt-in is required. So it's a one-time requirement of the select board. It doesn't require a town meeting. Once the select board votes to opt in, if that does happen, you become I believe it would be the 83rd PACE community in the state. Another key element is that the maximum financing term allowed is 20 years, and that's dependent on the useful life of the project measures. For a retrofit project, the energy cost savings must exceed the cost of improvements, including any financing costs and associated fees. So that's called an SIR requirement, savings to investment ratio. I mentioned this before, but if the property is sold, the remaining PACE assessment and PACE lien stays with the property and transfers to the new owner. That's what makes PACE different from traditional financing, where it's tied to a property and not the borrower. Retroactive consideration is available, and it's all third-party direct private financing. There are no public funds used in our program, and currently we have 17 organizations that we have listed on our registry. Continuing on, the PACE application must be approved by DOER and Mass Development for the financing to close. The mortgage holder's written consent is required as well, so that's why in all those case study slides, we noted who the mortgage holder was. So the mortgage holder needs to consent because they take a subordinate position behind the PACE financing. The betterment assessment and PACE lien is placed at closing. Mass Development's counsel prepares all the closing documents and handles the recording at the registry. The lien is first assigned to the town, and then assigned to Mass Development, and then to the capital provider. If there is a default, the capital provider holds enforcement rights to pursue remedies in that default scenario. Although PACE cannot be accelerated, so this is what non-accelerating debt means. That means that only unpaid billed assessment can be pursued in a default, so it's not the entire financing amount. And then finally, municipal liens are senior to the PACE lien. PACE lien is senior to the private mortgage lien in a default. So if this does happen, we haven't had it happen yet, but if it does, whatever the local town is owed first on that property, if they're delinquent on their property taxes or something like that, the town gets paid first, and then it goes to the PACE lien, and then any other form of financing or loan takes a subordinate position behind PACE. And then, as I mentioned earlier, these are our current PACE authorizing municipalities. We have 82 as of January this month. Actually, the last town that opted in was neighboring Hatfields. I spoke to their select board just before the holidays. So if Hadley is the next one, you guys would be number 83. And this just shows the map of the communities that have opted in PACE highlighted in green. So you can see around Hadley, there's a couple of towns and cities that have already opted into PACE. And this is the final slide here. It's just the commercial PACE structure. The lawyers love this slide. They made it, and we always include it. It's a little crazy with a lot of arrows and writing on it, but essentially it just goes over all the different entities that are involved in a PACE transaction and who's responsible for what and how we interact with each other. But essentially, at the end of the day, PACE is an economic development tool for towns and cities. Like I said, it's a public-private partnership to unlock private financing for commercial property owners that are either looking to, like I said, install energy efficiency improvements to their buildings, or for even new construction projects that follow certain guidelines that they can be eligible for PACE financing that way. And our green finance team, we're a pretty small team. We're led by Wendy O'Malley. She got PACE started here in Massachusetts, so she's the expert. And I work with my colleague, Rob Dolan, to cover kind of the whole state by a county kind of basis on different kind of PACE projects and inquiries. I know that is a lot of information I just threw at you all, so I'm happy to take any questions or listen to any comments you may have.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Why wouldn't the town sign into this?
Why wouldn't a town sign into this?
Correct.
Good question. I mean, when I wasn't here when the program first launched, so I know there was a kind of a big groundswell of support and originally to do it, but as the years have kind of gone by, usually what it takes now for a town or city to opt in is we approach them when we hear from a local property owner that's interested, and that's kind of the cadence we've been doing. for community opt-ins. We haven't had a select board or city council vote down PACE. Sometimes when we talk to select boards, they say, come back to us when there's an interested party. I would say maybe the only concern that we hear that we address is the administrative portion of it, the work required on behalf of the town staff. And that's where we stress, we're mass development, we're, a state agency. We work with towns and cities every day. We'll work hand in hand with the town and city on any PACE transactions. And then we have that consultant too, that mass development PACE for that can support the town staff if needed. So I would say there's many more reasons why a town should opt into PACE than not. But like I said, we haven't had a town outrightly reject PACE at this time.
PACE is, once we opt in, it's a one-time opt-in. If this turns out to be too burdensome on the administrative staff or too costly to the town, once we opt in, is that it? Or can we, when the next deal comes along, can we decline?
It's a good question. I haven't had this come up yet. I imagine there has to be some kind of mechanism for a town, if for whatever reason, to kind of back out. But let's say if you have an active deal that's already closed, and then you try another deal comes up, or for whatever reason, like I said, the town tries to reconsider it. I believe it. I don't know how that would work because obviously there's that agreement that when a project's closed, then they have that 20-year repayment cycle that the town can't kind of renege on that. So I'm not sure. It would have to delve back into the statute, to be honest with you, to look into that. But if there's an active deal that's been closed, it'd be pretty tough, I think, for the town to back away from those obligations, to be honest.
Yeah, no, and if we have a deal, we have a deal, you follow through on that deal, but I'm just saying in the future, once we've opted in and we say, hey, this is a nightmare for our administrative staff, where it costs us a lot of money to handle these deals as they come in. I don't know how many we'd do, but just in that instance, it'd be nice if we could say, all right, that's enough until we get these issues worked out.
I can look into the statute and I can follow up with that information in writing. I don't have it right before me, but I also know, this presentation, you've seen PACE is very unique, which usually means that we get very unique projects as well. For example, the city of Boston's been opted in for a number of years and we've closed 2 projects in the city of Boston. So I don't anticipate there being like a huge open the floodgates of projects where the town will be inundated and the administrative burden would be overbearing in that way. By nature, since PACE is a little different than traditional financing, we get kind of projects that have exhausted all their kind of other options and for whatever reason looking for PACE, or like I said, they just prefer that the financing is tied to the property and not themselves. But like I said, we're, mass development, we're not going anywhere too. So we're always there to support town staff too. And trying to alleviate that administrative burden as much as we can.
Can you describe what you feel is administrative burden for us, please?
After office.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
So do you guys know what tax software system the town uses? Is it Munis or Vader?
The collectors here. Sue, can you help us?
Vadar.
It's Vader, yeah.
Okay, so I know I'm not too familiar with Vadar, but like I said, that's why we have MuniCap. They're like the experts in that. So MuniCap would work with the assessment department or who's responsible for the billing basically, and putting the PACE assessment on the bill every year or however frequently the town does the property tax cycle. That's kind of the crux of the administrative burden. And then on the other side of it, let's say the town, you guys vote to opt in and there is a deal to be closed. There is the municipal assessment and assignment agreement that needs to be signed off. Basically, it's if you have the PACE authorizing statute language before you that mentions the municipal assessment and assignment agreement, that's kind of like the master agreement between mass development and the local town and city about basically how PACE works and who's responsible for what and executing what. So obviously, usually a lot of towns and cities like to take some time to review that language And sometimes they have council look at it and, they send it back to us and then we have our council look at it. So there's a little work there and some light reading. But like I said, we try and make it pretty minimal on the local towns and cities, on the administrative burden where, just putting it on the tax cycle and things like that is the most part of it, I'd say.
And did you say that there may be an interested party currently in Hadley?
Yes, they haven't officially applied, but we did have a commercial property entity reach out to us. They're interested in using PACE financing for a rooftop solar installation project.
I mean, personally, I see no issue with it again, but just wanting to be sure about exactly what that administrative burden is. So I would think that, maybe somebody walking through the assessor and collector's office to say, to give them a chance to say, hey.
Sue looks like she's ready to talk.
I apologize. I was on a phone call. So I missed, and I just had a notice here that the host has asked me to unmute. So I missed what Mr. Glasheen was asking. I'm assuming it was betterments.
Yes. Does the town do betterment assessments?
We have not. I've been here 20 years. We have not had a betterment assessment since I've been here. I'm aware of how they work and how you do them. But I would certainly want to take a look at any language in a contract that would impose a responsibility, an administrative responsibility on the town.
Of course, yeah, no, and I'm happy even to meet with you and other town staff separately too, going down the future. And if you missed part of the presentation, I can definitely give the presentation again. I can share.
And I can watch it. It's
yeah, no, like I said, and I
I'll
totally
back it
understand.
up.
I totally understand. Phone calls and things like that come up. So I'm more than happy to make myself available to any town staff after tonight's meeting to further discuss this. And I can share the municipal assessment and agreement, and kind of go over any questions, things like that. Like I'm not, like I said, I'm not an expert by any means on kind of municipal tax software. So I can do some little research into Vadar and see how easy or not easy it is to do betterment assessments in there. I can check in with our folks
I
at
know they
Media.
do them all over the state, so
Okay.
I'm sure it's not difficult. Again, we'd want to take a look at how much work it ends up being on the town side. And certainly what our select board is willing to do, so.
Okay, so Connor, thank you. We got a busy night ahead of us, and we're gonna need some time to digest this. We need to talk to the collector who you just spoke to. And we can have Jennifer get back in touch with you if we're ready to move forward.
Great. That sounds great. And thank you again for the opportunity to present tonight.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Connor.
Have a good night. Okay, item 6.3, financial update, second quarter. Linda. What you've been waiting for all night.
I'm slaving away at this, Randy.
So I have the quarterly reports for our four budget areas, which are the three enterprise funds, sewer, water, and Hadley Media. And then and the general funds, which is our largest part, which is our budget. So actually, can we start with sewer? Let's just, we just knock off the, there's no issues with the, there's no issues, but there's general funds is the one that generally takes up time. And I find we don't always get to them.
What's that? We like it.
So that's sewer. They might want it bigger. A little bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are in Word docs, yeah.
Yeah, these are on board docs.
Starting with sewer number?
So. Pardon me?
Yes, that's what she asked for.
We're starting with sewer? Yeah. Did you want me to point at it, Jennifer? We have something or?
I'll bring it to you if I have it in my mouth.
All right. I can just start talking. The way that all of these are set up is that we have our information for our current year, which is in green, and we compare it to the year before. That seems to be the most effective way of seeing whether we're still on track with our revenues and with our expenditures in this budget area. So, actually, Jennifer, we need to slide it over a little bit so we can see the rest of 25.
Okay.
Now we lost the other side.
I made it big so everybody can see it. I have to bring it down a bit.
Yeah, that's.
How's that?
Okay. So, our revenue and what we do is year to date, we're Q2. We are the second one, which I've highlighted in yellow, and it's going to be exactly the same up for all four of them. Our total revenue to date, you can see is highlighted in yellow, but the important thing is what we're comparing is our revenue percentage wise in collection, which is 65.67% that we have collected at halfway through the year. That is as compared to the year before, which is 54.94%. And the percentages of the revenues that we projected to be used for those budgets. So we are ahead, and that has pretty much a lot to do with the fact that the rates were raised. So, and I think when we originally set the revenues, we didn't have it. So we are doing fine. The expenditures are staying within the budget. Last year, we spent 40% at this time. This year, it's only 32, but there's various reasons that, that there are some gaps in that, and that is expected to be made up for in the next couple of months. We'll keep an eye on that, but so there we are. But sewer is doing fine, and our free cash or the sewer reserves, which is the enterprise funds equivalent of free cash in the general fund, sewer reserves is at 17,574. And it looks like if we continue at this rate that we will have money to add to the sewer reserves. That should be increased by the end of this year. So next is water funds, set up exactly the same way. Okay, so in water, we have by the end of, you see the third column over, we have our total revenue is what we're looking at, and drop down to the percentage. We've collected 66% of the revenue halfway through the year. Compared to year before, it was 65%. That's very close. 43% of the budget's been expended compared to last year. 41%. We're a little ahead. Nothing to be concerned about. Them, it's just a normal variation. So we're doing fine in water. That budget has in water reserves is 316,181. Water budget is doing fine. Hadley Media, that's just a real quick one for us because we don't have any revenues until the end of the year, and they are 37% of the budgeted amount has been spent as compared to 40% was spent halfway through the year last year. Close, even a little less. And so that budget is doing fine. And then we will go to the general funds. So this is the one we've been keeping a close eye on because this one relates to our general fund, our operating funds for town. And this is the one where when we go for an override or we use free cash, this is the budget that we're using it on. So our total revenues, this one we do actually into categories. The real estate taxes, the first column in each of them for 26 and 25, the percentage that we have collected in real estate taxes is a little over 46%, actually close to 47%, which is really close to where it was last year at 47.23. No concerns there. Let me go to the third one, which is state aid. State aid is at 65.38%. Last year, we collected 53.31%. The state pays it at the pace that they pay it. But in addition to that, it does look like we are going to have about 80,000 more coming in cherry sheet local aid than was originally projected. So this is going to probably continually stay ahead, and that's going to be helpful especially when we look at our local receipts, which is the second column in each, is the one that we've been a little concerned about. Local receipts, we've collected 41.94% halfway through the year, 41.94% of our projected revenues. And last year we were at 45.52%. Now, because of the increase in state aid, you see our total revenues actually are both about 47%. So we've got a little compensation going on, and that's helpful. I know last quarter when we talked about local receipts, they were about 200,000 below expectations. This time we're doing a little bit better. We're still about about almost $160,000 short of what we would like it to be. Actually, Jennifer, if this one you flip up and do show the lower figures, I think that they're helpful to see the notes that I've made on those. Those are the percentages in each of those. The first three are the revenues that I mentioned above, and I have my notes after local receipts. We're now approximately 156,000 short of where we wanted to be, or where we were projected to be. When we go to the expenditures are also coming in below by 133,000. The total is about 734,000 under. Now, when revenues are under, that's not good. When expenditures are under, that's not bad. So if we go back up, I think that why we're seeing expenditures, well, they're short dollar wise, but percentage is not that far off. But dollar wise, it is. We are seeing belt tightening already, and looking, knowing how the town is doing, and going into 27, and not replacing all of the positions that, as a result of our last town meeting where we had to decrease the budget. So we're seeing the impact of that, and I actually see it spilling over to the other budgets as well, especially when you see sewer and water are a third of many of our costs. So if we're cutting it down in the general budget, we're also cutting it down in the water and sewer. So we are seeing some savings there.
One of the things that it does when we have these budget meetings is one of the columns that we always look at and analyze is year-to-date spending. And to go along with what she just said, we are seeing, at least with the departments that we've mentioned so far, we are seeing folks really take care to not spend spend their budget. We're not seeing a Christmas and January situation. They're really seem to be trying hard to make sure that when this budget cycle is over,
right,
much back into free cash as possible.
And that can be a concern, because if they know they're going to be cut next year, that means they don't want to leave anything on the table at the end of this year. So it's a hard to balance that with departments. Where they're trying, we're trying. So I know last time we said, well, let's wait until the end of the second quarter, and then we'll have a much better idea. And maybe, so the point of us for this is we get information so we can make better decisions about 27. So we talked about, well, maybe depending on how it looks at the end of the second quarter, we can make some adjustments in our projections for 27 revenues. I did look at, I think I ended up going up about, I was able to put it up, I think about 30,000, but we have to be really careful about going up, and it's possible we could go up a little bit more. I wouldn't want to do that till after the third quarter, because again, of some of the just natural variations in how collections are happening with some of the departments, particularly the ones that are, first of all, maybe newer department heads who are still getting into the swing of it. And also we are going to see the impact of departments pressed for time, because as they have less staff to get the bills out as quickly and get I didn't used to have a bunch of turnovers coming in right after the close of the month. They were very, they really scramble and they just didn't get in time. It comes in, it's a little bit late. It is now, that is not the main work of any department. So it's our main work, but no department's main work is make sure we get those checks over to the treasurer's office. So they're doing their main work and they get to their invoices and they get to their revenues, their turnovers, and they bring the money in. So I am seeing some of it, I'm going and putting in the checks and saying, they've been holding this one a little while. So, and I know exactly why it is. I know, and they're pressed for time. They're busy. They're overloaded. So, these are just some of the subtle things that we see in when we do cut down and people don't find the visible impact sometimes of, we're doing just fine without that position or that position. And, we had 10 eliminated positions for this year. And we're looking at more positions to be cut down or eliminated for 27. And I don't see any change in the number that we discussed in December, although we should have good numbers together for you for February 4th, our meeting with the buy board. We hope to have some solid numbers there. But just getting all the same work done in the same amount of time for the departments that have already had some elimination of hours and personnel. We are seeing that impact. Just want to let you know that. So there we are for where we stand. Any questions?
Say something.
Yep.
Yep.
I was nodding in solidarity.
No surprises.
We are, we do have a few departments that we did have to cut some slack to, just because of what Linda just said, there's a lot going on in their departments. So I think we had to push 2 or 3 to early next week. Which should give us enough time to gather the information that will get us through all the departments. And then, we'll be able to have a good, robust budgetary discussion at the buy board meeting 2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yep. And just to reiterate what we feel our guidelines are, is that we are doing a budget within the projected revenues and without use of any free cash. That's where we are starting from, and that's the budget that we will put together. And we are telling that to department heads that all hope is not necessarily lost at this point, because I'll tell you some of the faces we've seen as we are saying, especially small departments, we're thinking of cutting a half of your support position. This is what we have to put forward. They understand this, and then where we go after that, we'll see. But that's one reason we wanted to have it already for February 4th. There will be no budget book. I promise you, we will not have a budget book on February 4th. And the budget that we bring forward at that point, if you remember the way that we had to really put all the operational budgets together as a single item and say, within this, we need to make 8 cuts of personnel. And then we have to have an executive session, and for the select board to then make decisions. We will have options. We will have a number of positions from within which you would make those choices. But the reason we want to do it, obviously, if we put up if we show you a department with $50,000 cut in it, that will be clear that we were thinking that's a department we would be losing a person out of, and that's not fair to do before it goes to select board where you can see it all. So we're going to put together all of the operational departments as a single item. And what were the other 2 we had? Oh, the debt and interest and on the benefits, so even as I'm saying, we were able to increase the revenues by $25,000. This very same day, we found out that our insurance that I had budgeted at a 15% increase is actually a 16% increase at least. But the difference, that 1% is about about $25,000. So there it is, win some, lose some, and this has been pretty much the story of our budget season so far.
2 steps forward.
Every single meeting of that. Every department.
Yeah. So we are going to carry on and get through this and see you in a couple of weeks, and we'll be done, and we'll be ready to begin in the next phase.
As usual, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Efforts,
Okay.
even though it's not the best news in the world, this is totally terrible.
And I continue to offer to any of you that want to come in and see some of these things a little bit more, like you want to understand it a little bit better. I'm happy to spend one-on-one with select board and finance committee so that they have the best information that they can, that they have time, a little bit more time sometimes, because I know we spring this on you and then it's time to make a decision, or we want information, we want your opinion back on it, and you haven't really thought about it that much. So if anyone wants to spend some more time and find out more about it in either of the committees, I'm happy to do that. Right. Okay.
Thank you, Linda.
All right. Thank you.
Next up is the town administrator's report, item 7.1.
Can I disappoint you one more time?
Certainly.
As you know, I was out last week. Still trying to catch my breath and everything. There are no changes. I did not get around to doing any updates, but the changes, I did look at it, there are. So.
Yeah, all right. That's nothing to be sorry about, Mike. Okay, anybody have a liaison report?
I do.
Jane?
I'm reporting on from the which committee, the solar landfill.
Okay.
All right, and I'm gonna read this because I don't want to say long. The big beautiful bill's early phase out of the 30% investment tax credit made it challenging to near impossible for the town to develop and own a solar PV system on the landfill. In order to qualify for safe harbor provisions of the bill and get in under the wire to receive the ITC, the town would need to risk significant amounts of capital, well over $500,000, to stay in the game. Given the town's current financial position, this put a quick stop to the solar task force effort on the project. Over the holidays, we did receive a preliminary offer by Kearsarge Energy to take on the project. Kearsarge is a private solar development company that has the experience and capital required to act quickly in the marketplace and secure safe harbor status, which would qualify them for the 30% ITC. Their preliminary value assessment is attached. I'm not going to give you that. By their current calculations, their projects could earn the town over a 20-year period $1.2 million in rental fees, plus approximately $980,000 in reduced electrical costs, depending on how you value our current electrical costs for the town's energy aggregation. This lease fee assumes the best case scenario. Kearsarge has noted that if the project had to cover the entire cost of 3 phases ago, the lease fee would be significantly compromised. Thus, if the town is going to pursue this, it would need to coordinate with the abutter project and proceed forward in an organized and efficient fashion necessary to meet safe harbor deadlines. Our recommendation is that the town select board either enter into negotiations with Kearsarge Energy to pursue this option or designate the solar task force to negotiate on the town's behalf. In the meantime, we can continue to solicit additional offers from other solar developers. What I would really like to do, and I know it's a busy meeting, but time is of the essence, is to get this on the next agenda and have Michael Doctor speak to it, because I may or may not be able to get online since I'll be out of the country.
Can you forward me all that information, Jane?
Yes.
Yeah, because I think the big deal is we gotta know what the town's gonna have to front for money.
Nothing.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
What about the hooking up to the 3-phase?
If that doesn't work, that doesn't work, and it's over. The town would not pay anything at this point. Kearsarge would take it over.
Okay.
So the potential is almost $2 million over a 20-year period.
Right.
If it goes.
So do we wanna invite Michael Doctor on at our next meeting, even though it's gonna be a long one, but hopefully he won't be very long. Good with that? Okay, can we do that, please, Jennifer?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a liaison report? No. Okay, announcements, item 9.
I have one.
Sir.
The fire chief would like me to make an announcement that with cold weather that has already arrived this week, as well as the upcoming frigid temperatures and potential snowstorms, that please visit the Hadley Fire Department Facebook page or the police department Facebook page. We will share this, that there are warming centers across town. Hadley Public Library is a warming center, and it's basically open during all of their normal business hours. The senior center, same thing, Monday through Friday through their normal business hours. And they also, the fire chief has also worked out a agreement with the Hampshire Mall to allow folks to utilize their space during their normal business hours for a warming center. If you have any questions about this, please shoot an email or a phone call over to the fire department, and I'm sure Mike and or Heidi can give you any more information if you'd like on this.
Thank you.
Just administrative question. So the meeting on the 4th, that's our next meeting, right?
Correct.
And that's 6 o'clock start. We can try to start early where you have an impact.
Gonna be a big meeting, and you have a pretty serious executive session that you at least need to start on that night. I would recommend that you start at 5:30, and I'd also like to ask if you would consider having a daytime executive session only to consider the discussions that we're going to bring to you in executive session, because it's going to be a whole lot of information. So I was wondering if y'all might consider having an executive session during the day at some point on a Thursday or Friday after that, so the 5th or the 6th.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, if I can get online.
Okay. So I'll check with y'all all to see. I'll just send an email to let me know what's better, Friday or Thursday. And is lunchtime, that actually, that will be in the email, just let me know. And we'll get that scheduled as well, because I think that by the time we're done with the budget presentation and give you an introduction to what we're looking at, I think it's gonna be later than anybody really wants to hear. Okay, so I will send that to y'all.
All right, thank you. Any other announcements? Okay, moving on to item number 10, executive session.
I'll make a motion to move into executive session pursuant to meeting law, chapter 30A, section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for potential negotiations with non-union personnel, which would be the new town administrator. We will not be reconvening an open session today.
Second.
Okay, motion by Amy, second by David. As chair of the Hadley Select Board, I state that the board has moved and seconded to enter into executive session, and that I state that discussing the matter in open session will have a detrimental impact on the bargaining position of the town of Hadley. Roll call vote, please.
We'll call vote. Phil?
Yes.
Keegan? Yes. Isaac?
Yes.
Nevinston?
Yes.
And Parsons? Yes. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.